Asian stocks fell while the dollar advanced as strong U.S. economic data bolstered prospects of higher interest rates. Investors are steering away from risky assets, with the Federal Reserve taking its time in cutting rates. Chinese stocks were little changed in early trade as China's military started its second day of war games around Taiwan. Hong Kong's Hang Seng gave up 1.4%. Mainland China's Shanghai index down 0.8%, and Japan's Nikkei shedding 1.1%. Overnight, U.S. stocks ended lower even as strong revenue forecast for Nvidia prompted a surge in its shares. However, this was overshadowed by economic data showing inflation was still a concern that could delay any Federal Reserve rate cuts. The S&P 500 lost 0.7%, the Nasdaq Composite down 0.4%, and the Dow Jones Industrial diving 1.5%. To help us look back at the week that was, we are joined by Verve Govender, who is from Rand Swiss. Verve, thank you so much for your time. As we wrap up the week, give us a sense of your assessment of market performance so far.
I think this week was dominated by some stuff happening with the US Fed. We had some economic numbers coming out from the US as well. I think the big thing was the Fed came out with some minutes this week, and the minutes basically reintroduced the idea of a possible rate hike. I don't think it's likely. I think it's still like maybe a 1 in 10 or even lower chance of it happening. That the next move for the Fed will be a hike, but it reintroduced the idea. It also kind of reduced its certainty about rate cuts for this year, or even schedule for rate cuts going forward. So I think that kind of made the market to be a little nervous. And so you see things like gold, for instance, pulling back substantially on this news.
When you look at data coming out of the United States, whether it's other leading indicators that were hinting at a possibility of a slowdown, and then over the past couple of days, we've had weekly jobless claims as well as U.S. business activity. What are we learning about the state of the U.S. economy so far?
I think we are learning that the U.S. economy, the inflation number seems to be a lot stickier than we've been hoping for. There is some signs that the economy is slowing down, despite that, like you said, rather strong jobless claims number. I mean, retail sales and a couple other figures indicate that there is some weakness in the U.S. economy, but inflation remains sticky, and inflation seems to be going towards the services sector more than it was in the past. And the issue with that is that services are related to wages, and wages, when they rise, don't fall. And in fact, once wages start rising, they build up momentum. So if you have a 5% wage increase this year, next year you're not going to accept a 1%. You'll try and get as close to 5% again. And that's the kind of momentum that actually embeds inflation into the economy, as opposed to one-off increases in things like fuel prices.
Everyone is focusing on general elections taking place next week. Your sense of performance from the Rand over the past week or so, are we seeing any kind of significant movements, or is it all international dynamics?
It's partly international dynamics. The dollar being a little weaker made the rand get a bit stronger, and that's something the dollar has been seen across the board. When the dollar got a bit stronger, the rand got a bit weaker. But I do think there is a different relationship in terms of polling numbers I've seen and the currency. It does appear the market is happier when the ANC gets close to 50% than when, for instance, it's lower than, say, 40%, as the number was a little while back. I do think that the idea of a single party or close to one party with a small coalition, attached to it, creates more stability for the country in the market's interpretation than, for instance, the ANC at about, say, 38% in a coalition with the EFF or the MK or something like that, which I think may be viewed as being a bit more unstable. At least that's the impression I'm getting from how the polling numbers are relating to the rand movements at the moment.
Earlier today, we had Quantum Foods releasing their results. Is there a key takeaway for you when you look at those numbers?
Yeah, revenue down, profits up. Look, I mean, this company and all the companies in this sector have been dealing with, a couple, negatives recently. I think we've seen the bird flu situation, obviously, a big problem with that last year. But we also have seen, obviously, fluctuations in the price of feed that's also been affecting them. So it kind of makes sense that, when you have such volatility, there'll be, periods of positivity like we are right now, following periods of negativity or negative periods that we saw just recently, like last year. That being said, I think this is just a pattern that's going to be repeating itself going forward. We've already seen some troubling news about some, avian flu in Australia, I believe, has crossed to humans. And this is the kind of stuff that's a danger. I don't say this is particular things that going to cause a problem right now. I'm saying that this kind of stuff is a danger that we see in the industry, where we have, natural events like weather and like pandemics, etc., affecting it quite badly.
Where are you overweight or underweight when you look at allocations?
I would create an AI at the moment in technology, just because of the developments we've been seeing over the last couple of years, and just because of the fact that we are seeing, more and more people that are in the know putting money into these things. So, for instance, looking at Google, looking at Alphabet, that's Google as Alphabet, Facebook, Meta, Windows, I guess Microsoft. Sorry, these companies are spending tens of billions. In some cases, like with Microsoft, they're looking to spend 100 billion on computing power to build a massive supercomputer to run AI. These are the guys at the edge of knowledge, and they are the guys that are the most optimistic. So I would seem to believe that this is something that's actually real, and if that's the case, then you want to be in it.
Viv, thank you so much for your time. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have SME on point with Diabo Setu, so stay tuned.